Today, there is only 4 teams left in our season preview, and we start with the East Division, and we predicted in our simulations that the Philadelphia Flyers will be the winner of the East Division. Why is this, Tommy?
It's a very good question. I think it's by far the biggest surprise of our simulations this season that Flyers are capturing the first spot in the East Division, which is deemed really, really close in our papers and also in Vegas lines and all the odds. So something to explain it is that the top 3 teams, so Boston, Washington, and Philadelphia, are all within 2 points in the simulation. So one win here and there might just tip the scales. But in these simulations, it is Philadelphia that will take the number 1 spot. Of course, Flyers have been in and out the playoffs for about 10 years now. So first season they get in and then they are out again. So they have some decent draft picks. There were a lot of players that they've drafted themselves now in the roster. So they're pretty good in that regard of their own production. Of course, a little bit of a disappointment in the playoffs last season. They played really good regular season, finishing up second in the fourth fifth. Sorry. Or did they play the? No, yeah, I got my notes mixed up. They were fourth, so they played in the preliminary round as well. So they played good playoffs in the beginning, but then lost to New York Islanders in a 7-game marathon. That's what I was remembering there. So a little bit of a disappointment after excellent regular season, and then playoffs went quite fine first, but then 7 games and Islanders were better. So Islanders has been a difficult opponent for them in the past as well, if I'm right. But how have we been doing with the simulations with the Flyers?
Flyers has been an interesting team because on the road we have been able to predict them pretty accurately. There has been quite a bit positive expected value for Flyers on the road, and actually 74% of their games have had that positive value, and if you would bet those, you would get half of those correct, and that would result $1,112 profit in your pocket. But Flyers is a good example of let's say one of the betting basics that when you need to bet and when you shouldn't. On those same home games, when Flyers have played home with positive expected value, there's 66% of the games where that has occurred, and the hit rate for those is 46%, so only 4% less than on the road. But if you would bet those games, you would end up losing $1,322. So as we all understand that home odds are a bit lower than odds on the road, it's very important to check that what kind of odds you are betting in this hockey moneyline bets, and then figure out that, hey, is it really worth of it, or is the expected value in place? Because if you bet a lot of low odds that are barely or usually under 50-50, then one lost here and there can wipe your wins very quickly. And when we check a little bit the details of the statistics from last 3 seasons, Philadelphia is an interesting team that they have been able to produce very well in the first road game. So the win percentage for that is 52%, when all the road game win percentage is below 49%. And that is one game, again, that has generated a lot of profit with positive side value. But then when there's a third or more road game, I think these guys will they have been exhausted after the first 2 games, because the win percentage drops to 30%, and as you know, their style of hockey is very demanding and grinding, so maybe the long road trips are too much for them, and that is something that it's important to keep in mind when we make our bets when Philly is on the road. But you mentioned that they are the winner or projected winner in this Mass Mutual East Division. How about other teams? There are some familiar teams, but then there's few new teams that they haven't played so much. How well the system is matched against Philly?
I think Philadelphia now with Alain Vigneault, they are trying to control the puck a lot. They try to keep the game in the opposing end. So it's probably been really helpful for them to face the likes of Penguins and Capitals for quite many times in every season. So they've been playing these really offensive teams that they know that they have to keep them out of their own zone. So I think this group might be a very good match for Philly. They probably have had some issues in the past, but they have now a little bit deeper offensive lineup, and also in the defense, the young guys are 1 year older, more experienced. They got a really good run last season in the playoffs, even if it ended up in a loss to Islanders. But it was something that this team can definitely take something to grow and actually challenge properly these, let's say, traditional favorites like the Capitals, Penguins, Bruins. So it is time for these Flyers now to show that they are for real and really be contenders. How about divisional opponents in your end? You have the statistics. How have they been doing?
So they've shown that they can actually win any opponent, and say these teams that they've played more earlier, like for example Washington, that has been a very good team. Philadelphia has won almost 54% of those games. Same applies with let's say lower tier teams like New Jersey, 54%, New York Rangers over 80% of those games, so they have been matching very well. But then, like you said, the playoff series against Islanders last season, and I think some other games against them has been a bit struggle, because Islanders have won most of the games. Philadelphia win percentage against Islanders is only 33% out of 18 games that they played during the last 3 seasons. And then these new teams in the division, Pittsburgh has been difficult for them, 35%. But then another grinding team, Boston, hasn't been too difficult. Out of 10 games, Philadelphia has won 6, so they have won most of those, and show that, like I said, they can win any team. Buffalo has been again a bit lower tier team, but Philadelphia hasn't thought it that way, but they have won 75% of the games. So I think they are very, very well matched. Interesting to see how teams like Islanders, maybe Pittsburgh, will match with Philadelphia, but I think there's no opponent that they cannot win.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting matchup between the Islanders and the Flyers, because there is also the game within the game. You have Barry Trotz against Alain Vigneault, pretty much a different type of a coaching philosophy. Alain Vigneault likes to control the puck, play a little bit through the offense, have this sort of defending by offense, and Barry Trotz, of course, a completely different sort of approach, only defense, a lot of dump and chase sort of stuff. So Islanders and Flyers will provide some very interesting matchup for sure. To go a little bit through to Flyers roster this season, they didn't make a lot of changes. Of course, they will get back Nolan Patrick from his head injury. Hopefully, he's able to play. Oscar Lindblom also back after his sickness. So, like pretty much new players in the roster, even if they haven't really done any acquisitions in the free markets. Between the pipes, Carter Hart broke through last season, elite level keeper, no problem there. A little bit inexperienced still, but I think that he already proved that he can play like a veteran. Brian Elliott is the backup. He's solid enough for Philly, so shouldn't be any problems there if the defense can provide a little bit of assistance there. In the D, Ivan Provorov, Travis Sanheim, Philip Myers. Last season showed that these guys are elite level two-way defensemen, all of them capable of moving the puck, but also playing in their own end. And then you have the bigger guys. Erik Gustafsson now came in for Matt Niskanen, completely different type of player, but better defensively for sure. And then the veteran Justin Brown, a little bit more defensive guy as well. So there are a lots of firepower and also defensive prowess there. Interesting to see how Shane Gostisbehere will manage. He's had two really difficult seasons, along with a really difficult name. But he scored 65 points a couple of seasons back. So if he's up for it, he can also work as a secret weapon, especially in a power play. So something to assist in the offense. And offensively, Philly is really deep. They have the top line of Claude Giroux, Jakub Voracek, and Sean Couturier that is able to be one of the best lines in the league. Of course, a lot of improvement needed, especially from the veterans. They didn't play really well. Haven't played really well in the last couple of seasons, especially when the season is on the line. So more is expected from them. The top six, then Travis Konechny led the team in scoring last season. New guy Joel Farabee broke through in the playoffs, played pretty well. Kevin Hayes, a reliable two-way centerman. So a lot of depth, like I said. James Van Riemsdyk, Scott Laughton, Michael Raffle, then more defensive guys in the bottom six. So it's a high quality offense, and most of these players fill their roles perfectly. And that's also something that Alan Vigneault will definitely want to have, is to have his team play in a way that he likes to play, and also the players knowing exactly what is expected of them. So this is the sort of formula that you need to be a contender. It's been done really well by the likes of Bruins and St. Louis Blues, and the teams that might have not the best of talent in there, but the quality through the ranks is enough to fill all those roster spots. How about our simulations? How have we been predicting the Flyers in the past couple of seasons?
So when we take a look to season futures and season predictions, year ago we simulated that Flyers would get 96 points, so 5.5 points over the Vegas line. And when the season was stopped, they were played 69 games and got 89 points. So I'm pretty sure that that would go over, maybe even over our prediction, but for sure over Vegas line. Then 2 years ago, Philadelphia missed playoffs, so they scored 82 points, 1 point per game, and our prediction was to go under 98.5 points, so that was again correct. And then 3 years ago, we predicted Philadelphia to go over 90.5 points. So we actually predicted 96 points, and the result was that they went to 98 points, so very close of our prediction, and again correct the bet from the over-under points point of view. What kind of odds and numbers currently bookmakers offer for Philadelphia, and is it worth to bet them to win Stanley Cup?
The Stanley Cup is maybe a little bit far-fetched, but you never know. They are rated actually second, or divided second with the Penguins in their division to reach the third spot. It's plus 450 their odds to win the division, which is, of course, according to our simulations, there is value there because the leaders, I think it was the Bruins, have the odds of 350. So 350 Bruins, 400 Capitals, and then 450 for Flyers and Penguins. So I see value there for Flyers to win the division, as we've seen that they are able to beat the Bruins in the past, Of course, Penguins have been a stumbling block, but they are declining somewhat, at least according to our simulations. So it should be a good value pick for 450 to take Flyers to win the division. Then for the Stanley Cup odds, the odds are around 2,000, a little bit less actually now. Plus 1,880 seems to be the highest that I see now. It's sixth in NHL, second from the Eastern Division. So I'd say quite close to realistic, and I wouldn't put my money on that. Then let's just check the line quickly. It's exactly the same in the Vegas lines as it is in our simulations. So we are predicting them to get 67.5 points, and that is also the Vegas line. So no value there. Although interestingly, in our simulations, Philly will win the division with that point total, and in Vegas it would only be third. So like said before, the Eastern Division is really, really even in our simulations.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see how they will start the season, and that naturally gives some indication if the division win is within the reach. But I agree with you that whenever there is a value, we'll hit that one.
Yeah, winning the division plus 450 is a good value.
Very good. We'll continue with other divisions and catch up you later.